WGSO 990 AM or North Shore Radio, LLC.
And this is okay. We got you now. All right. Good evening. We've got a wild singer. She won't shut up tonight. Okay. This is welcome to the Jack Clegg Show. This is a Tuesday night edition. Today is Tuesday, isn't it? Yes. And you're listening to WGSO 990 AM and WGSO.com. You're also watching this on Facebook, X, or YouTube on our our video podcast. Okay, we had problems with a microphone right before we started, but I think we've got that resolved now. Okay, and again, this is a radio talk show, and people call in and often make much better points than the host, who is Jack Clegg. That's me. And if you want to call in tonight, the number is 504-556-9696. Tonight's show is going to be a little bit different, something different. We're going to try to make some sense of the world today. Boy, there's so much going on. And I'm going to focus on just one particular line of thinking here. And it occurred to me today in doing the research and in seeing all the different things that were going on. I often look for what I'll call a common denominator in things. What's going on, and is there anything that is shared among the things that are happening? I hope that by the end of the show we'll have some answers for you. And by examining not only historical fact, but what's going on today, I hope we can maybe have a better view of the world and a better perspective when we hear the news, when we hear different things in the news, by appreciating what's on historically, or what's been going on historically, what has actually happened, will give us a better view. Okay, and so let me start off this first section by discussing a bit what I'm talking about in particular. In the 20th century, there were two superpowers following World War II, the United States and Russia. And shortly after World War II, Russia was not, and I actually made a mistake. It wasn't the United States and Russia, it was the United States and the USSR, the Soviet Union. Different than Russia today, the Soviet Union. And it had 15 satellites. Now, what's a satellite? Well, that's a country under the control of the Soviet Union. And what was that control? Well, these were all communist countries. Countries that believed that the state should own the means of production, not individual, not private property, the state. And the state took care of people. They hired people to work in the factories. The state paid them. The state had grocery stores where you shopped at. The state put things on the shelves. And the state had a space program, the state had a military, the state had schools. They decided what school you should attend. They gave you a test when you were a little boy, little girl, and said, hey, you're going to be pretty good at this. So they directed you in this direction. Totally different than the United States. And in the 15 satellite countries, they had all different beginnings, but they eventually fell under the same yoke of communism. What happened to people who didn't like it? Well, you had two choices. Either escape or try to protest. What happened if you protested? You had a new address. It was called the Gulag. And the Gulag was usually a place where political protesters went. Okay. Now, by 1991, the USSR, the Soviet Union, and its 15 satellite colonies had no longer power. They were no longer a rival to the United States. How did that happen? Now, I don't know what in today's world, what is being taught to our youth, but I was actually doing research for this show, and I came across, you're familiar with what history is, history being the television network, the publication online, and the magazine history. Okay, generally it's a pretty accurate publication, and the shows are pretty accurate, as I have found in my experience. But when I started researching this question, I found out what current professors and the professors that are being given airtime on history and given print time, I found out what they viewed as being the cause of the end of the Soviet Union. I was very surprised. And I think you're going to be surprised too. Now, and I'm going to talk about this right now and in the beginning of the next segment, so you'll see hopefully where we're going. I simply call this history, and I'm talking about the channel, the articles that they're publishing about this, as revisionist, because it's certainly not true. They say that the person responsible for the breakup of the Soviet Union and the end of the Soviet Union's position as a superpower is whom? Who do they give credit to? George Herbert Walker Bush. When I read that, I was shocked. I don't have anything against George Bush, but I know he was ineffective. He only had one term as a president. And the guy, I always thought, and this is thinking these things as I was in my 20s and 30s and watching what was going on, was President Reagan. And I remember hearing the analysis at the time by all of the experts. The analysis was, we outspent them. And we pushed and pushed and pushed our military, even if it wasn't true. Remember Star Wars? President Reagan actually had them convinced that we were going to defeat the Soviet Union by having powers in outer space and having satellites and these things that the Soviet Union could not even afford. So that's what actually happened, folks. That's what those of us who lived during that time remember. And it's what actually happened. But here's what is said in history, in the magazine and the articles. Unlike Reagan, I'm quoting here, unlike Reagan, who was rash and undermined American political and moral values to destroy communism around the globe, Bush was a much more moderate Cold Warrior, and he is credited with the ending of the USSR. Now, this is from a Dickinson College professor, and he states that George Bush, quote, helped carry the world safely through this tumultuous time. Another Southern Methodist University history professor, Jeffrey Engel, wrote in 2017 that George Bush was the man who ended the Soviet Union. Bush actually wished to keep the USSR together, according to history professor, and this gentleman's name was Mark Katz. This is his quote. part of the reason for his reelection loss, this is Bush's reelection loss, was the sense that he was somehow less interested in us than in foreigners. I remember why George Bush was not reelected. Everyone who lived at that time remembered why George Bush wasn't reelected. And it didn't have anything to do with the breakup of the Soviet Union. It had everything to do with this quote, and I'm going to quote it. And everyone who was alive at that time remembers this quote. Remember when George Bush said, "Read my lips, no new taxes." And what happened when he was the president? He raised taxes. And a lot of that money went overseas, just like they're trying to do it today. And so this gentleman and the group of these professors that history endorses, History, the channel, were wrong. All right, we're going to take a break right now in a few moments. And after the break, we're going to get into a few more facts. And I think we probably have a caller on hold. And we'll get to that caller after the break. Back in a few moments.
Hi, I'm Huck, an active Christian who loves Louisiana. One of my goals is to bring Louisiana's education from 50th to number 1.
And I'm Dave. I'm not afraid of government bureaucrats. I fear God. Our rights and freedoms come from Him.
This is Liberty or Lockdown. Please join us on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on WGSO 990 AM and WGSO.com.
Join me, Mitch Gibbs, every Monday and Friday at 5 p.m. live on WGSO Radio New Orleans, talking Saints football in our 12th season in the Red Zone. We'll be live at Premier Nissan at 6636 Veterans Boulevard, where Metairie meets Kenner, for another exciting season of Saints football live on WGSO Radio.
Are you looking for the perfect personalized gift for your friends and loved ones? Then look no further than Crow and Crescent. Crow and Crescent provides customizable handmade gifts, tumbler cups, and much more. All items are handmade with care and can be gift wrapped with personalized messages. For more information, you can find us at crowandcrescent.com and on Instagram. Crow and Crescent, let us show you the right gift for any occasion.
Hey, it's Christian. DTS Appliance Direct is moving to City Park. Go now to their current location, 3240 Parish Road in Chalmette, right next to Winn-Dixie. DTS Appliance Direct is liquidating their current inventory up to 25% off on appliances, high-end appliances, Z-Line, Blaze Grills, Monogram, Cafe, Hire, and many more. Call DTS Appliance Direct, 504-766-0738. Take advantage of this massive, massive deal. Call DTS Appliance Direct, 504-766-0738.
Boy, have we got a show for you this week. Ever wonder where all the great songs have gone? Well, we found them. Hey everyone, I'm Pat Matthews, your host of 70s Deja Vu. And once again, I'll be looking in the rearview mirror and I'll see you in the back seat. Join me for some great music, all selected to get you going on 70s Deja Vu. Sunday morning at 7 a.m. right here on 990 AM WGSO.
I love MyPillow products, and I love that Mike Lindell is so passionate about his products and America. I use the pillows and the slippers and enjoy them so much. I'm placing orders on more of his products using the promo code WWFA at mypillow.com to get big discounts on any of their products. And you will see what the rest of America loves about the products you can find at mypillow.com using the promo code WWFA.
All right, New Orleans, welcome back to the second segment of the Jack Clegg Show here at WGSO 990 AM and WGSO.com. And our call-in number is 504-556-9696. One more thing I wanted to mention before we take our first caller. In reviewing all of this revisionist history, there's a pattern emerging, and it's clear, and you can do it yourself if you do the reading. There are lies, and there are more lies, and the clear import is not to give any credit to President Reagan, none at all. And they had to really make a stretch to give the credit for this to George Bush. The revisionists are like the current Biden administration and what they're doing as well. So before I get into it deeper, we have a caller. Let's hear from Matthew. Matthew, how are you this evening?
Doing well, Jack. So
Good.
listening to your intro, it occurs to me that the reason why Ronald Reagan was so upsetting to them is the same reason why Donald Trump is so upsetting to them. Because they had a certain post-war orientation that they adopted after the war, and the war that was, we have to have a sphere of influence, and the Soviet Union was always the enemy, and they oriented all of their intelligence gathering and all of their hostility towards the Soviet Union. They have people who study Russian. They have people who study how Russians think.
Mm-hmm.
They have people who study how Russians eat. And they can't reorient themselves to a new direction.
Let me ask you this, Matthew, because in the calls that you've had, you seem to be very well informed. And I
try to be.
And you try to be. And that's what a lot of people should try. And we all know people who don't want to listen to the news. They don't want to listen to what the controversies are. They'd rather just ignore them. Let me ask you this question.
Sure.
Let me ask you this question. In your view, what is the sole reason that the USSR ended?
Frankly, it's because the citizenry of the USSR lost all confidence in the government of the USSR.
Okay. What aspect of that did they lose confidence in?
Well, for one thing, I do know that the USSR lost its line of credit. Nobody would loan it any money. And they had been keeping their economy afloat basically for 70 years on credit.
Bingo. Well done, Matthew. You get the bingo. Sure. It was completely economic. When they went to the grocery store and they had to wait in line to get in, and once they got in, there was one loaf of bread. People don't forget that. And they looked to somebody to blame. And who could they blame? The government, because the government owned the store. There were people that went to work in the morning and they worked all day and they worked for a week. And when they expected pay, they didn't get money. This was an economic failure. Now, I don't think that Ronald Reagan could take the credit for the domestic losses. However,
not completely.
Ronald Reagan required and he forced the USSR to spend whatever money it had on building a military to defeat the U.S. Phantom. And by Phantom, I mean things like Star Wars and things that we never were going to do anyway, but they kept pouring money into it.
Being a little bit uncharitable.
Well, did that not happen?
The research started in the Reagan administration, and it still continues.
Well, we are advanced, and we're spending a lot of money on military weaponry. Okay, that's fine. What point I'm trying to make here is they were not immune to international economic conditions. And in fact, that caused them to fail. Let me pose this question.
Rating went to zero.
the credit rating went to zero. And so let's look at that. So what do we learn from that lesson?
Don't run your economy on credit. Is that a good one?
How about that one? That's a good one. But there's even more that's going on. But that is the key point. There were only two superpowers after World War II. And one of those superpowers had, they call them satellites. I'll call them colonies. They had colonies all over the world.
They were in the ideological sense, yes.
And they took revenue from them. Yet they could not compete with our economy. They couldn't run their own. And therefore, the totalitarians, the communists, could no longer control the country. The satellites all broke off, and Russia became independent, Azerbaijan, Ukraine, etc., etc. They lost everything. And it was all...
The Russian Empire that the Soviet Union had inherited went away.
Right. It was gone. So how do we look at things today in America? What are the threats? What are the threats we have? And I'll give this. I'll make this simple for our audience and for you and for anyone listening. And I want to hear from our callers. I'm going to give a multiple choice examination here with one question. If you were an enemy of America, how would you destroy it? Here's the well, here it is. A, bomb us into submission using nuclear weapons. B, attack us with foreign terrorists posing as illegal aliens. Matthew, can you hold on? We got to take a break?
I will absolutely hold on.
All right, I'll give you the rest of the exam after the break.
When the time came, I knew I had to find a place where Mom would be safe and active while still feeling independent. A place that was close to all of us and everything she needed. Locally owned and operated in the heart of Gonzales, I found Francois Ben's Senior Living. They specialize in independent and assisted living and memory care.
Call 225-647-BEND for more information on our special pre-leasing offers.
Francois Ben's Senior Living. Experience life as it should be.
New Orleans, are you ready to have a conversation? Well, if you are, Ron Richardson is here to tell you that you should tune into my show, Conversations with Ron Richardson, every Saturday morning from 11 a.m. until 12 noon here on WGSO 990 AM and WGSO.com, where we discuss mental health, disability, and everyday life. Tune in to Conversations with Ron Richardson every Saturday morning from 11 a.m. until 12 noon here on WGSO 990 AM and WGSO.com.
Sky-high interest rates are forcing more and more homeowners to remodel instead of build.
If that's you, call me, Shane Mulkey, with VinylTech. During our end-of-the-year blowout sale, let us make your home look new for less. Save big now on siding, gutters, stucco, patio covers, and roofing from VinylTech. Get your home ready for the holidays. Call VinylTech now, 504-469-7590. VinylTech. VinylTechNola.com.
Around these parts,
pass will go out there and it's intercepted.
The game of football,
hammered back at the 29-yard line,
is all
caught at the 15-yard line. 10, 5,
the rage.
Touchdown, Louisiana.
It means everything. It really does.
This is your radio home for Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns football.
Catch all the action of Ragin' Cajuns football this season, only on the community voice of the Crescent City, WGSO 990 AM.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Colleen Crane. LSU women's basketball coach Kim Mulkey continues to not provide any details on why Angel Reese is not with the team.
Reese missed her second straight game Monday night.
Angel is a part of this basketball team, and Angel will be back sooner than later.
But when pressed to provide more information, Mulkey says it's her job to protect her players.
If you do some disciplining of your own children, do you think we're entitled to know that? That's a family in that locker room.
Mulkey also seems confident they can get past this.
Coaches deal with issues, guys, every year.
LSU has won easily without Reese over two inferior opponents, and he'll play again Friday against Niagara in the Cayman Islands. I'm Jeff Palermo.
The Coast Guard and other authorities are still searching for the source of an oil pipeline leak in the Gulf of Mexico off the Louisiana coast. The Coast Guard initially reported 12,000 gallons of oil was in the water, but pipeline gauges show 1.1 million gallons of oil is missing and may have been discharged into the Gulf. The pipeline has been shut down, but authorities continue to search for the source. LRN.
Entergy Louisiana is strengthening our power grid from Lake Charles to Baton Rouge, Metairie to Monroe. Our blueprint covers the state. Nearly 10,000 projects, over 11,000 miles of transmission line. We're reinforcing infrastructure to prepare for stronger storms, reduce outages, and respond quicker when you do need us. We're making stronger connections in every community because together, we power life.
Medicaid members, keep your coverage. Update your address, email address, and cell phone number to receive information regarding your benefits. Act now. If you get a letter from Louisiana Medicaid, read it and respond as soon as possible. For more information or to update your info, call the number on your insurance card or visit healthy.la.gov. That's healthy.la.gov. Remember to update all required information before Medicaid deadlines so you don't lose your coverage.
It's Jeff Cruer, host of Ringside Politics. I'd like to introduce WGSO General Manager Mary Ann Guzman.
WGSO is locally owned and operated right here in New Orleans. We believe in cultivating local talent and emphasize local programs. If you have an interest in hosting your own program, then we have some prime spots available.
Thanks, Mary Ann. Folks, take advantage of this great offer. Email me at jeff@wgso.com or call me at 504-669-6076. Come fulfill your radio dreams at WGSO.
Hi, this is Kevin Carr, host of Fat Guys at the Movies. Listen every Sunday at 8 p.m. on WGSO 990 AM, the community voice of the Crescent City.
Donate your vehicle and make a difference. WGSO 990 AM has partnered with Charitable Adult Rides and Services, also known as CARS, to allow you the opportunity to donate your car, truck, motorcycle, RV, or boat to our nonprofit organization. You may qualify for a tax deduction while supporting a cause that is near and dear to your heart. Simply go to WGSO.com and follow the link on our homepage. Vehicle donation pickup is always free to you, and most vehicles can be picked up within 24 to 72 hours. You'll receive an initial car donation receipt upon pickup, and then the CARS team will work to turn your car into cash to support our cause. Once your vehicle is sold, the CARS team will provide you proper tax forms in time to file. Their friendly donor support representatives are available 7 days a week to assist throughout the process. Again, for more information, go to WGSO.com.
Hello, y'all. Let's talk daily from 4 to 5 about our town. The Cynthia Clark Show is powered by Vinyltech, the Gulf Coast premier exterior home improvement expert.
Join me, BJ Rust, every Saturday night for the Something to Say radio show on WGSO.
All right, New Orleans. Welcome back to the third segment of the Jack Clegg Show tonight. And we're talking about a hypothetical situation, which, and this most of this conversation is going to be hypothetical because we certainly hope none of this happens. However, from the standpoint of looking at what we learned from history and what we've seen, we've been talking about the large and historic ending to the Soviet Union, and thinking about, well, how could that happen here in the United States? And I posed the question to Matthew, who's on the line. If you were an enemy of America, how would you destroy it? And I'm giving a multiple choice answers. Okay, I give you A, B, C, and D. A, bomb us into submission using nuclear weapons. B, attack us with foreign terrorists posing as illegal aliens. And that would be destroying our electrical grid, poisoning our water, and doing it like a week or the same day as our November 2024 election. C, destroy our youth. D, foment armed civil war among racial lines, then attack. Matthew, what's your, unless you have another answer, what A, B, C, or D, and why?
Well, actually, I'd actually like to exclude an answer and say I'm going to take A, the nuclear attack, off the table, primarily because the resources here in the United States are too great of a price to want to irradiate them for the next 120 years.
I agree with you.
But the others that you mentioned, it could be a combination of them all.
Well, which do
Why
you
does it
think
have to be one?
Well, the reason is, let me maybe change the question. Which would be the most effective way to do it?
Possibly D, because we live with a fairly large number of racial minorities. If you say that white people are a majority, we live with a fairly large number of racial minorities, and white people have a greater tolerance for people of other races than they have for us. In other words,
I
we have the lowest in-group preference, so we tend to be very trusting. And now suddenly we start to lose that trust, well, that could be trouble.
Okay. And I appreciate your answer. And other callers that call in this evening, I'm going to ask the same question. Thanks for calling in, and thanks for sharing your insight,
to their answers,
as you always do. Thank you, Matt.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family as well. Okay, so before we get to the next caller, I just wanted to point out that I'm going to ask this same question. And in particular, I derive my answer from what I'm seeing today and what I've been seeing over the last several years happening in America, because I think the attack is already here. And I agree with Matthew. I just threw in the nuclear choice answer A, because many people fear that is the reason. Matthew gets an A+ in eliminating that, because I don't think that's going to happen. And his reasoning is the same as mine. Far too many resources here. What you want to do is destroy America and the American way. Anyway, we have Rusty on the line. Rusty, how are you this evening?
I'm pretty good, Jack. Jack?
Yes, sir.
I was going to argue with you. Not argue, but I was going to ask you.
Okay.
What was the point of your show so far? And I think you probably, in the last 3 minutes or so, since you came back from the break, I think you pretty much told me what it is. And that, you're looking for how to bring America down.
Right.
But I don't think these countries are building nuclear weapons. They could use these nuclear weapons to intimidate us, to make us feel like it's better to be red than dead.
Yeah. I forgot about that one. That's a good one. I remember that one.
Remember that one? And I have the feeling in this country there's a lot of people who feel that way. Mm-hmm. So I think these Chinese are building this up. That's why the Russians did it. So I'm not going to eliminate that. But let me ask you this. This is what I really wanted to ask you as the time was moving on and you were making your lecture or your statement. And don't you think now it's nothing like the Soviet Union? The Soviet Union, we didn't depend on the Soviet Union for our products.
Oh, no. Right.
We depend almost on pharmaceuticals, everything.
Oh, you're talking about China kind of
I'm talking
replacing.
about China.
Because
yes. Okay. The Soviet Union or Russia is really a second-rate power now compared to China, except for maybe in the nuclear missile arsenal. But it seems to me we're burying ourselves. There was a statement. Maybe you used it on your show in the last week or two, but I've heard it now 2 or 3 times in the last couple of weeks, that the communists are going to sell us the rope that they hang us with.
I wish it was me that said that. I'd love to take credit.
I thought it might have been you, but it was a couple other people too.
Yes,
and that's what's going on here. We don't care. Our principles are gone. The corporations, everything is being sold out to this enemy, and we don't seem to care. And I have the feeling something bad's going to happen here. I know you like to be positive, but I like to be practical and realistic. Something bad's going to happen here because just like the old Greek story of the Trojan horse.
Yeah.
They had these people inside the horse, and they didn't know it. But
Right.
The truth is, we know what's happening. They're coming across the border. They're selling us the rope again.
Right.
They're doing all this, and we see it, and we're indifferent to it. I don't think a nation can last like that. So of all the choices that you gave Matthew, all of them are potentially right. Every one of them have substance to it. And, you can decide as you guys are doing, which one is the most strongest. But I think all of them, because we've lost our way. We have no more principles, patriotism, loyalty to country, honor about things, and caring about. We never would, during World War II, we wouldn't, or right before World War II, we wouldn't be buying everything from Japan.
Right.
That never would have happened. Right. We've lost our way, and I think it's because, again, this is something I see. I'm not Bible thumping, but I see a lack of honor and morality and conscience in our country about what's good for our nation and what's not good, and being number one, meaning your own pocketbook being more important than what's good for the whole of the country. So, and I see it with China anyway.
Well,
so,
and I thank you for what you're saying. And there are 4 choices to my question, and I thought of them very important.
Yes.
And at the last segment, I'm going to reveal what the real answer is, of course, because it's my test. And the teacher always gets to say which is the real answer. Yeah, all the other things. No, and you actually answered the question right. And when I get to the last and final segment of the show, I will explain what it is and why you were right. And it's a specific answer that I think, and whether it's China or not, my view today, and I mean, it's obvious, it is so obvious to me that we don't have one enemy. It's not just China. We have 3. If anyone doesn't think that Russia, Iran, and China are cooperating to knock us, if we're knocked out, if we're not here, who's going to stop them? Just think about that. Canada, England, Italy, Norway, Finland, nobody.
Right.
So, and we don't understand how significant that is. I hear people talking about climate change is a planetary or a worldwide event, as if they don't realize that governance is at stake. How you're going to become, you want to go back to 1917 and Bolshevik Russia You want to go back to that? And by ignoring what is happening today, I think I've given the answer away, but I don't not want to say it yet. By ignoring what's happening today and just pointing fingers, no, it's Palestinians, no, it's Israelis. These are all complete canards. They are complete, what's the word? Distractions from the real problems we face. I think you'd agree with me. And
yes, I think to a large extent that's true.
That is, and the only real consequence of these things are that we are spending money on these, and the financial health of America is what makes it strong. During World War II, what happened to the financial strength of America? People rationed things. People did not spend money nilly-willy. Money was a gift. They didn't have it to spend because we had to fight a war. I don't think we're ready to do that. Anyway, we got to take a break. Thanks for the call. All right, listen to the segment and I'll give the answer.
I'll be listening, Jack, and I'll look forward to next Tuesday.
Excellent. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break now. We'll be back in just a few seconds.
A business without signage is like a car with a flat tire. It's not going anywhere fast. Sir Speedy can change that. We're a trusted resource for sign design and production. Whether you need trade show displays, banners, posters, directional signs, window decals, wall graphics, or more, Sir Speedy's sign capabilities can help your business get noticed. Call us today at 504-586-9812. Sir Speedy, we do it.
Hi, this is Kate Delaney from America Tonight. The show kicks on at midnight, and I'm loving the overwhelming support in New Orleans. What a group of fantastic listeners here on WGSO 990 AM. Join me every morning to catch up on what I call the buzz in your backyard and mine. You'll hear some of the most interesting people on the planet from the world of business, politics, sports, and, well, just intriguing people with a story to tell. If you're around, give us a call. Don't worry, I'll spit out the number plenty of times on the air. Let's agree to meet at midnight right here on WGSO 990 AM in New Orleans.
Hi, I'm William Wallace. You can hear me live on Tuesday nights at 5 o'clock here on WGSO, or see what I have to say on Facebook at William Wallace for
Tune
America.
in to Chew on This, Saturdays at noon on WGSO. Tell us what you're cooking or ask us how to cook it with Don Clement and Patty B. We'll share recipes, cooking techniques, everything from sous vide to grilling. Got a favorite kitchen gadget? Let us know about it. Your grandma's secret sauce? Now we're talking. Tips from home cooks for gourmet cooking at your home. Join Don Clement and Patty B for Chew on This, Saturdays at noon on WGSO.
Come on to my house.
Do you have ghosts in your house? Well, I do. Hi, it's Bloody Mary, your local spirit guide, psychic medium, and celebrity ghost hunter. I run the Haunted Museum and Voodoo Spirit Shop in the French Quarter. Come do a ghost hunt with us and sharpen your communication skills with the other side. Don't be afraid. I'll teach you how to as we learn and do. Go ghost hunting, join a Victorian seance, and explore the beyond. Did you know that you can even plan an entire haunted night at the museum for your private party? 7 days, 7 nights. Join us. BloodyMaryNewOrleans.com.
Hey, it's Christian. DTS Appliance Direct is moving to City Park. Go now to their current location, 3240 Paris Road in Chalmette, right next to Winn-Dixie. DTS Appliance Direct is liquidating their current inventory up to 25% off on appliances, high-end appliances, Z-Line, Blaze Grills, Monogram, Cafe, Hire, and many more. Call DTS Appliance Direct, 504-766-0738. Take advantage of this massive, massive deal. Call DTS Appliance Direct, 504-766-0738.
More and more Americans are listening on American Ground. Listen each Saturday from noon to 1 p.m. with Louis R. Avalone and Stephen Parr.
Join me, BJ Rust, every Saturday night for the Something to Say radio show on WGSO 990 AM and streaming live on WGSO.com.
All right, New Orleans. Welcome to the fourth and final segment of the Jack Clegg Show tonight, the Tuesday night edition. And before I give the answer to the multiple choice question of the night and of the year, actually, I have to make an apology to the Cajun whistleblower. We won't be able to get to you tonight. I apologize deeply. We always look forward to your comments, but I have not enough time to finish what I have to do. Next Tuesday, if you call, you will be the first caller in. So I'm apologizing I can't get to you tonight. All right. The answer to the question, we're going to get to that right now. The question was, how would you, looking at history, looking at how things are, how would you destroy America? And we gave the listeners 4 choices. And those 4 choices: bomb us into submission, use nuclear weapons, and pretty much that one's not the answer. Next, attack us with foreign terrorists posing as illegal aliens. That I mentioned because right now one of the biggest questions we have is who's coming over our border. We don't know. C, destroy our youth. I left that broad. And D, foment armed civil war along racial lines. I've heard that one proposed. The answer, and the right answer, the correct answer, is destroy our youth. That's the biggest threat that we have and that we're facing. Why do I say that? Well, let's look at history. Let's look at what happened in the Soviet Union. It was an economic collapse. Okay, people can survive small things, but our youth cannot. Once the youth in Russia, well, the Soviet Union, became disillusioned with the totalitarian regime, they demanded change. And they got change. Gorbachev, one of the first things he did, when he could see they had no more credit, as Matthew mentioned, and he could see their financial position was just doomed, the first thing he did is says, we're going to have elections where we'll have more political parties than just the single communist party that we had. And he actually did that. It was too late. Their economic condition didn't improve. More changes, and they were gone. Okay. So that economic, financial issue is the key. It's all about, and it always is about, what the people have. Now, in our country today, more and more of our youth is depending on the government. How did this happen? They're depending on the government to get an education. If they don't get a loan from the government, they don't go to college. Now, there are many here, and I'm one of them, that say, look, you don't have to go to college. You don't have to do this. You don't have to borrow money, which the taxpayers will end up paying, and the institutions of higher education can set you off in a direction that it's going to allow you to pay your money back. So youth is the key to all of this. Okay, all spring long, all summer long, if you were an enemy of the United States and you saw what was going on, let's look at Portland, or let's look at Oregon. Portland is a disaster, but Oregon was one of the first states to decriminalize drugs, heroin, cocaine, opioids. What's the result? What's the result? It's horrible. Now, finally, after doing all of that, fortunately, they haven't completely destroyed. It could be that it will, but it hasn't completely destroyed Oregon. They're now pushing back and rolling back all of this because of the disaster it was. Okay, so what do we have happening here in America? The number one cause of death of children between 18 and 45, I say children because I'm much older, but people between 18 and 45 is fentanyl poisoning. And I heard President Biden today giving remarks about what he's going to do to help the fentanyl problem. More treatment centers. Fentanyl is not an addictive drug. It's poison. They're not people. Tell me if you've ever heard of anyone addicted to fentanyl. They die. That's what happens when you take fentanyl. And so I'm listening, and not a single word that the death penalty will be on the table for people who supply fentanyl to others. Why not? They don't know. They don't know they're selling drugs. They don't know they're trafficking in drugs. If they don't know it's fentanyl, that's their fault. If it is fentanyl and someone gets killed, that's the price they should pay. That's real simple. By telling the youth, well, we'll have treatment centers for you, that isn't going to stop the deaths. Not at all. Are you serious? And I listened to this today, and I know a little bit about drugs and treatment and how it affects families, and it's a horrible thing, but you want to prevent it from being brought into the country. Okay, that's on drugs. And how, and so why do you think they're bringing those drugs here? Is it to make money? Well, that's part of it. But destroying our youth is another part of it. It's happening. Okay. Secondly, one more thing. The New York Times today had a story about women in India. They were preaching to women in India that they needed to be more like American women. Its call is in just 6 words. They say, get more Indian women paid jobs. Next Tuesday, I'm going to finish this analysis and tell you why all of this is designed to change our youth. And if it's China who's behind it, let me ask one question to all the listeners. Who is the most patient in the world? Chinese? The Americans? The Iranians? The Chinese? We know the answer to that. So, thanks for listening this evening. I appreciate it. Thursday night is Thanksgiving. The studio is closed. I hope all of you assemble your families and look at all the wonderful things you've done for them and you've done for each other, and let's do it for our country. Good evening. Hello, this is Jack Clegg.